our radar, and you can see we've got some mixed precipitation on the way. I'm Emily Vukovic. It is Wednesday. Wow, it's already Wednesday. It is the 8th of April, and unfortunately, freezing rain is going to be a big story for many of us today. Not so much for the city of Toronto, but areas surrounding. Temperatures are on their way down, and we do have a freezing rain warning in place. So this stretches all the way from Peterborough through Caledon over towards Owen Sound down through Kitchener. Toronto in the special weather statement, but not actually in the warning. And I'm going to have to check what's going on around the 400 there because that should be included. I'm looking at. Okay, we'll talk about the freezing rain and the snow throughout the morning hours. We've got snow north of Barrie right now. We've got showers that are going to be along the lake shore. So the closer you are to the lake, the warmer your temperatures are going to be. Winds are certainly going to be a bit of an issue today. We're seeing sustained winds out close to about 40 kilometers an hour, gusting closer to 50. As we get closer to the lake, we could see gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour with sustained 40 to 50. Our temperatures right now, look at that, we're mild through Toronto. We're looking at 4 degrees, 0 through Orangeville, 1 in Kitchener as well as 1 in Brantford. And I think that might be this afternoon. That might be our afternoon temperatures because we're showing our evening temperatures here. So we are going to be warming up, not substantially. I think the big story is that, well, it's just going to be wet. Here's Dom now with an update on your commute. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. I'm Emily Vukovic. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th of April, and unfortunately, we've got some active weather to talk about. It's coming in the form of rain, the risk of freezing rain, and snow. Now, we're not going to see the snow so much for the city of Toronto or anywhere throughout the GTA, maybe Barrie up in northern areas, and you can see it. It's just on its way through the radar. Down through Hamilton and through London, Kitchener, Waterloo, this is our best chance of seeing a little bit of freezing drizzle. So through Caledon, up through Barrie, over towards Peterborough, Mount Forest, you're in this, through Uxbridge, through Vaughan, through North York. The freezing rain warning is in place, and it looks as though you could see a couple of hours worth. Now, temperatures are going to keep it rain along the lakeshore, because we're about 4 degrees for the city of Toronto, but it is going to be very windy, so it is going to feel very raw. We're seeing our winds sustained at about 40 kilometers an hour, gusting anywhere between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour for Toronto, gusting up to about 35 kilometers an hour through Barrie. Current temperatures, this is where we get that freezing rain risk, because you can see we're sitting at the 0 mark through Orangeville, through Kitchener, down through Brantford. Toronto, 3 degrees, so too warm. 1 up in Barrie, 1 through Newmarket. The precipitation hasn't quite reached you yet, but it will by this afternoon. And there again is that freezing rain risk with temperatures hovering just around that freezing mark. And I mean, yes, we've got 2 degrees forecast, but it's going to fluctuate. So that's where you can get kind of mixing, a little bit of freezing rain, a couple of flurries. It's just not going to be a nice day to be traveling. We're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters of rain from today right into Friday. Tomorrow's going to be a bit of a soaker, and we will talk about that coming up. Thunderstorm risks. I know, it's so funny. We get freezing rain and thunderstorms, but that's the difference of the air mass to the south and to the north. We've got warmer air coming in. Warm air aloft is going to be bringing us that risk of isolated thunderstorms. And again, overnight and into tomorrow. Talk more about your long range, get you right into the weekend. But first, here's Tom. Good morning. It's Wednesday. It is April the 8th. I'm Emily Vukovic, and if you're watching us from the comfort of your cozy couch or your cozy bed and you're thinking, should I get back under the covers? Maybe. I probably would if I had the option. We have a freezing rain warning throughout parts of southern Ontario. Temperatures are just fluctuating on that very dangerous zone. We're going anywhere from kind of 4 degrees to 0 to -1, back up to 0. Looking at the radar, a lot of it is falling as rain right now, but if you just see that little flash of pink right at the end, right there, that is going to be that mixing and that freezing rain potential through the morning hours. So mostly up through Wyerton, through Orangeville, through Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo, Hamilton also included in it. Toronto, we are in a special weather statement from Environment Canada, meaning that, well, there's a chance. I mean, don't rule it out because, yeah, our temperatures are mild-ish. For the morning hours right now, we're at 4 degrees. That could change very dramatically. Through the afternoon and evening, that freezing rain potential is going to push its way north. A lot of the rainfall is going to stay to the south. This is through Friday, keep in mind. So today, we've got a pretty good soaking on the way, but tomorrow we are just going to get drenched, which is a good typical April shower with milder temperatures. 30 to 45 millimeters, quite possible. Winds, certainly a big story today. You're thinking, okay, well, if temperatures warm up, that'll be good news. It'll be a warmer wind, but it's not. It's coming in from the northeast, so we're going to pick up those winds right off the lake. It is going to feel quite raw. Gusting up to about 55 kilometers an hour through Toronto, gusting to 35 through Newmarket, gusting up to 40 through Hamilton. Looking at the middle of the week, well, it's really that battle between warm air and cold air, and that jet stream is doing a really good job at depicting who's seeing what. We're still in the cold, but that warm, it's on its way to us. By Thursday, temperatures are going to be bumping up, not significantly. We're looking at about 8-9 degrees, depending on where you are, but we've got rain on the way, starting really consistently in the afternoon, staying with us through the evening, and then tapering off throughout the day on Friday. But Friday, temperatures are going to be incredibly mild. We're talking mid to high teens. By Saturday, things change a little bit. We go back to cooler values, but we do start to clear out, and this ridge in the jet stream, it's coming our way. So for Saturday, we're looking at a brisk wind, but seasonal temperatures, and Sunday being the best day of the weekend, warmer and fair with lots of sun. It's Wednesday. It is April the 8th. I'm Emily Vukovic. Thanks for joining us for our active weather coverage. We're seeing a system push in through southern Ontario, and with that system, we've got freezing rain warnings stretching from Peterborough all the way down through Kitchener and up through Owen Sound. Higher elevations certainly going to be more impacted than areas closer to the lake. We are seeing mostly showers along Lake Ontario, but we're seeing that little bit of mixing, that little bit of freezing drizzle through London, over through Hamilton, and through Kitchener, Waterloo, and through Guelph, and in through Cambridge. That's going to stretch through Orangeville and in through Uxbridge and through Newmarket and Vaughan. Winds, big story. We're seeing gusts right now up to 55 kilometers an hour. It is a raw wind. It is a northeast wind, so it is going to be cold, especially when we have gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. Now, as we've been taking a look at our current temperatures, they've been dropping. Toronto about half an hour ago was at 4. Right now we're at 3. We're looking at 0 through Orangeville, Kitchener, and Brantford. That's a perfect recipe for some freezing rain. By this afternoon, that risk stays there. Even though Kitchener's going to get up to 2 degrees, we may only be 2 degrees for 10 minutes, and then it could drop back down to the freezing mark. Rainfall amounts from today into Friday, we're looking at about 35 to 40 millimeters. So we're going to get a good April soaking. And some areas, if you do see some isolated thunderstorms down towards the south with that warm air aloft, you could certainly see more. And then through the overnight tonight, we've got that risk again into tomorrow morning. Now, we'll talk more about your weekend forecast, but first, here's Tom with traffic. Well, it's wet. We've got the first round coming through right now, and then we've got the second round of moisture coming in through this afternoon. We are going to see a bit of a break this evening, but then through the overnight and tomorrow, another system starts to approach. We're looking at heavier rainfall early afternoon, continuing through the evening and through the overnight into Friday. Friday morning, we'll start to see those showers taper off. Temperatures are going to be mild because of that southerly wind. Saturday, not looking too bad. It's still going to be fairly brisk with that northerly wind, but by Sunday we're looking at sunshine and mild temperatures, 12 degrees. And here are the details. Thanks for joining us. I'm Emily Vukovic. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th of April, and we kick things off with a freezing rain warning. I know, but it's that time of year. We've got temperatures really fluctuating around the freezing mark, so there are some areas that are going to be seeing, 2 to 3 hours of freezing rain. Other areas, specifically higher elevation, could see up to 6 hours of freezing rain. And as you see on the radar, you can see London up towards Kitchener. Kitchener reporting freezing rain right now in through Cambridge and through Guelph, over towards Uxbridge and in through Newmarket, through Vaughan. Northern areas of the city of Toronto will be seeing this freezing rain, but down towards the water, it's just too warm. Toronto's been sitting anywhere kind of between 3 and 4 degrees this morning, so that is why we're seeing rain, but we're contending with very gusty conditions as well. Now, by this afternoon and through the evening, the system starts to track its way north, but then thunderstorms start to fire up. Down towards the southwest, we're getting that push of southerly air, and that's what's warming up the temperatures, enough to give us a little bit of convective activity. Rainfall amounts from today into Friday are pretty substantial. We're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters. That's a good April soaking. Temperatures are going to stay cool today, but then we're going to start to warm up in the long range, and I'll show you that. Winds are gusting to about 55 kilometers an hour right now along the lakeshore. We're looking at winds gusting up to about 35 kilometers an hour up through Barrie. The warm air to the south and the cold air to the north. We are going to be seeing milder air push in through the GTA by tomorrow, but we'll also see periods of rain, heavy at times. And then for Friday, it is going to be scattered showers through the morning. It's going to be breezy and quite mild by the afternoon. And then for Saturday, it's going to be cooler because we have that northerly flow, but take a look what's on the way for us. That big ridge in the jet stream, it's going to be our turn come the end of the weekend. So for Saturday, it's going to be brisk with that wind, but seasonal temperatures. And then Sunday, the better day of the weekend, warmer and fair. Here's Tom with a traffic update. Hi there. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. It is the 8th of April. I'm Emily Vukovic. And unfortunately, we start off today's show with a freezing rain warning. We've got it stretching from Peterborough through Barrie, down through Caledon and through Kitchener, Mount Forest, up through Owen Sound. The potential is there for a very tricky commute in some communities. Now, the freezing rain is staying well north of the city, as you can see, because along the lakeshore, it's just too warm. Temperatures are bumping up to about 3-4 degrees. So that kind of kiboshes the risk for freezing rain, but we've got very gusty conditions. We've got winds that'll be gusting anywhere from 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. Now, the freezing rain moves to the north by this afternoon and this evening, and we're actually going to stay straight rain. It'll change over through Guelph, down through London. In through Hamilton, we've got that risk of a few isolated thunderstorms. That's the difference between that surface temperature being at, the freezing mark and that warm air aloft that we're seeing from the south. Rainfall amounts, we're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters from today into Friday. Today's going to be wet. Tomorrow's going to be even worse. We've got a lot of rain on the way, which is good because the ground needs it. It helps clean off the roads. We are going to be seeing a push of warm air by tomorrow from the south, but this jet stream is really doing a really good job of depicting kind of who's seeing the cold air and who's seeing the warm. That's going to push a little bit further north, and we are going to get into some very mild conditions as we get into the weekend. All right, I'm going to turn things over to Tom Reynolds right now. He's got an update on your commute. Okay, who wants to bet that that umbrella does not last all morning? It looks a little flimsy already. Wind gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour along the lakeshore. And yes, we do have that freezing rain warning. Thanks so much, Kevin. I'm Emily Vukovic. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th of April. And today, it's going to be a little messy. We've got Barrie in the freezing rain warning, stretching through Caledon, Toronto. Not in it, even though it looks like you are. You're in a special weather statement, so don't rule it out. Your temperatures are just a little bit too warm. Now, the good news, if there is good news with this freezing rain, is that it doesn't look as though it's going to have a huge impact on traffic. Tom will talk a little bit more to that in a moment, but I think the highways are just a little bit too warm. Where we could see the impact is going to be on power lines, vehicles, tree branches, that kind of thing. As you can see on the radar, we've got that mixing line. We're starting to see it through Guelph and through Kitchener, through Waterloo, up through Orangeville. But again, Toronto staying all rain throughout the day today. Winds right now are gusting close to 60 kilometers an hour through Toronto, through Kitchener, gusting close to 50 kilometers an hour. Temperatures, as Kevin was mentioning, I'm just going to skip through these because everybody knows that we're hovering around the freezing mark right now through this afternoon. Not much better, anywhere kind of between 0 and 2 degrees, and that's going to fluctuate on and off. So that's where we could see brief periods of freezing rain or extended periods of freezing rain. Rainfall amounts from now until Thursday, we're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters, so a good April soaking. Here's Tom with a traffic update. Well, it's Wednesday. It is April the 8th. I'm Emily Vukovic. Thanks for joining us. Bit of a messy start to the day. We've got rain, we've got freezing rain, and in some areas we're seeing a little bit of snow. Freezing rain warning in place, stretches through Barrie, Caledon, through Mount Forest, and through Uxbridge, through Vaughan, through Newmarket. A lot of areas, especially higher elevation, going to be impacted by this. You can see on the radar, we're seeing that transition from rain to a rain-snow mix to freezing drizzle back to rain again. It's because our temperatures are fluctuating so much, and that's exactly what's going to be happening throughout the morning hours. If your temperatures hover at or slightly below the freezing mark, that's where you're going to see that risk of freezing rain. Slightly above, like along the lakeshore, that's where you're going to see showers. It is very windy. We've got wind gusts at about 56 kilometers an hour for the city of Toronto, up through Orangeville and into Kitchener into the mid-40s, but gusts could be possible 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. Now, Kevin Yard, I'm already starting to take bets on how long that umbrella is going to last for you this morning. And don't forget, if you're on Twitter and you're just heading to work, you can follow us on your live stream app. Well, the Weather Network app, we have a live stream, and you can check out all the information as you travel. All right, we are going to be seeing heavy amounts of rain through the southern portions of Ontario. We're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters from today into Thursday. And we even have a thunderstorm risk down towards the south. We've got that warm air aloft. Temperatures will be warming up just in time for the weekend. Time now to dive deep into your long-range forecast. I'm Emily Vukovic. It is Wednesday. It is the 8th of April. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got good news and bad news, but I think you're really going to like the good news. At least I do. But first, yeah, we've got some wet and messy weather for the next couple of days. Rainfall amounts today and through till Friday. We're looking at about 30 to 45 millimeters. Not a ton of complaints of that because, well, it'll help give the ground some moisture and it'll help clear off the roadways. It's a typical April downpour. Now, this is where you're thinking, well, this isn't good news. This is kind of the bad news. In the middle of the week, we've got kind of northerly winds coming in, so we are going to be quite cool. That counts for today and even into tomorrow to some extent. But temperatures will be warming up with that push of warm air from the south. We are going to be seeing milder temperatures with periods of rain. The rain's going to be kind of on and off through the morning hours and then be a little bit more consistent throughout the afternoon and into the evening overnight. By Friday, things will start to taper off. We are going to be seeing a bit of a break. We may even see a little bit of sunshine and really mild temperatures getting up to about 15 degrees through much of the GTA. Now, here's the really good news. By Saturday, even though we're still in that kind of colder pattern, we've got this ridge coming our way, which is nice because we're going to get that push of westerly warm air. And by Saturday, yes, we're looking at a brisk wind coming in from the northeast, but temperatures are going to be seasonal. That's close to 10 degrees for this time of year. Sunday looks as though it is going to be the more beautiful day of the weekend. So if you have any kind of outdoor activities that you've been putting off, Sunday is the day to do it. Warmer and fair. Now, early into middle of next week, it finally looks as though spring has arrived. I think so many people are going to be happy about this because that's the number one question I get. Hey, Emily, when is it going to be spring? Well, technically it is spring, but it just hasn't been mild. We haven't seen a lot of double-digit temperature days so far this year. Well, that is all going to change because you are really going to love our 7-day forecast. We go from 7 degrees tomorrow to 15 on Friday over the weekend, cooler for Saturday. Sunday looks awesome, 14 degrees, lots of sunshine. And then take a look at next week. It looks as though spring has finally sprung for the city of Toronto. Well, that was a really good explanation of freezing rain, and it's very timely science behind the weather because that is exactly what we're dealing with this morning. I'm Emily Vukovic. It's Wednesday. It is April the 8th, and we've got a freezing rain warning in place stretching from Owen Sound all the way down through Goderich, Kitchener, Mount Forest, up through Barrie. Conditions on the roadways, not too bad. I was just talking to meteorologist Dr. Doug Gillum, and he was saying that, well, the roads aren't too bad, but walkways are really slippery, and his car was covered in ice, and he lives up in the Milton area. As you can see on the radar, that pink, that's where we're seeing that freezing rain. That risk is going to continue through the morning hours, especially through higher elevations. Wind is going to be a major issue today. We've got wind gusts potentially 60 to 70 kilometers an hour along the lake. It's going to be a raw wind too because it's coming in from the northeast, so it is going to be cold. 56 kilometers an hour is what we're at through Toronto right now. Kevin Yard is joining us from the Cambridge area this morning. And Kevin, I mean, that umbrella, you think it's going to last all morning? Well, we are going to be seeing a fairly decent amount of rain, anywhere between kind of 30 to 45 millimeters down towards the southern portion of Ontario. It's good news. I mean, we need that kind of April soaking for the ground and to clean off the roadways. Thunderstorm risk, and you're thinking, wait, how can we have a freezing rain warning in one area and a thunderstorm risk in another? Well, we've just got warm air aloft. We are going to see that risk Hamilton and south. The rain is going to continue this afternoon. We'll see a bit of a break by this evening. Thanks, Kevin. I actually just got a tweet from somebody in, hold on, Guelph. A very thin line of ice already on their van. The roads look to be okay because they're just too warm, but cars, walkways, power lines, those could certainly see a little bit of ice accretion throughout the morning. Freezing rain warning stretching from Peterborough down through Kitchener up through Owen Sound. Looking at the radar, you can actually see where we've got that mixing and that little bit of freezing drizzle. This is more so through the Kitchener area. But yeah, as Kevin was mentioning, not a lot of rain falling through Toronto right now, but luckily for the city of Toronto, it is going to be staying all rain. We've got showers stretching from Oshawa all the way down towards Hamilton. Toronto and Hamilton both in a special weather statement due to the fact that we could see a little bit of freezing drizzle. Don't rule it out. May see a little bit of mixing. Winds, certainly a big story. They are brisk. They are raw. They are coming off of the lake in a northeasterly direction. So we are seeing wind gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour by this afternoon, and quite a decent amount of rain. Now, this is for today into Friday. 35 to 40 millimeters, certainly not out of the question. That's a good April soaking. And because of that warm air loft, we've got the risk of a few isolated thunderstorms down towards the south. So this is not such great news, but we do have better news in the long range. I'll talk about all the double-digit temperatures next week coming up. But first, here's Tom with a quick update on traffic. Thanks so much, Kevin. Freezing rain warning in place from Peterborough up through Barrie and through Caledon, through Kitchener, up through Owen Sound. The roadways look as though they're going to stay okay because they're just too warm for ice accretion to build up. But power lines, your vehicle, even your walkway from your home to your vehicle could be a little bit slippery. Here's the radar. Kevin was mentioning that we're not seeing a lot of moisture, but it looks as though through Pickering and downtown Toronto, we might be picking up something here. Freezing rain has been reported through Kitchener, it's been reported through Guelph. I mean, it's going to be kind of on and off throughout the day today because those temperatures are really going to fluctuate. Orangeville through Guelph and in through Hamilton, that's where we can see that mix and the freezing rain. Certainly, it's going to be impacting higher elevations a little bit more. Winds gusting to 50 kilometers an hour right now. By the afternoon, we're looking at gusts anywhere from 60 to 70 kilometers, especially along the lakeshore. Rainfall amounts 30 to 45 millimeters, Toronto, Kitchener, down through London. And we also have the risk of a few isolated thunderstorms because of the warm air loft. So don't be surprised if you hear a rumble, see a little bit of lightning. Rainfall is going to continue this afternoon. That's kind of our second wave of moisture. Then we're going to see a little bit of a break. Tomorrow morning, we'll see a lot of cloud cover, some scattered showers, and then another wave of moisture comes in through the early afternoon, sits with us through the evening and through the overnight. So tomorrow we're going to see quite a soaker, but temperatures are going to be a little milder. And by Friday, that southerly flow really kicks in. We're going to see a daytime high of 15 degrees, possibly a little bit of sun. Here's Tom with an update on traffic. Well, that science behind the weather was certainly timely because that is exactly what we're dealing with today, freezing rain. I'm Emily Vukovic. It's Wednesday. It is April the 8th, and we've got a freezing rain warning in place, stretches from Peterborough through Owen Sound, Mount Forest, down through Kitchener and through Caledon. A lot of areas are certainly going to be impacted by some very, not so much slippery road conditions, because I think the highways are just a little bit too warm, but walkways, your vehicles, power lines, tree branches, that kind of thing. As you can see on the radar, I need to move out of the way. I feel like my stomach's blocking it. We've got that kind of line of pink. That's that mixing freezing rain scenario. I received a picture from somebody in Guelph telling me that there was already a fine line of ice on their minivan. Now, Orangeville, Guelph, Hamilton, anywhere kind of higher elevation, certainly being more impacted by this. The wind's certainly going to be an issue right now. They're gusting to 50 kilometers an hour through Toronto, and anywhere along the lakeshore this afternoon, 60 to 70 kilometer an hour gusts, certainly not out of the question. We are going to head to Kevin Yard right now. He is live. And Kevin, I mean, your umbrella looks a little bit more stable right now. And I'm wondering if it's just because where you're standing, you're kind of surrounded by buildings. Continued active weather coverage for this Wednesday. It is April the 8th. I'm Emily Vukovic. Joining me, meteorologist Dr. Doug Gillum. We're going to kind of dive deep into this freezing rain issue that many of us are dealing with today. I mean, we've got a freezing rain warning. It stretches from Peterborough out to Owen Sound, down through Kitchener, Caledon. City of Toronto not in it, but areas just north of that could see some.
And this is where most concern is above the escarpment away from the lake. When I got up this morning, there was ice on my windshield. There was ice on the walkway. And a lot of people are seeing some ice this morning, but as the sun comes up, we think the roads will be just fine.
Yeah.
Temperatures are very marginal, right near the freezing mark. We have our first round of precipitation that has moved through and impacted the morning rush. We get a bit of a lull to the mid-morning, and then the more widespread, heavier precipitation moves in late this morning into this afternoon. Again, temperatures are going to be very marginal, right around zero. Above the escarpments, we're more concerned about seeing some buildup of ice on trees and power lines, but we think any power outages will be very sporadic.
Okay, that is really good news, because that could be a major concern, as we all know. Ice Storm 2013, hello,
no, we're not going to repeat that.
No. Now, this afternoon and in through this evening, we do have, I mean, it's going to transition a little bit further further north, we've got temperatures kind of warming up through those areas.
For the evening commute, the precipitation will be winding down again, becoming more scattered with the showers, and temperatures will be above zero by that point. So don't expect a major impact on the evening commute. Again, we see the temperatures above zero, so that's some good news, but a pretty good soaking rain during the midday.
And that's good. That's typical for April. I mean, we like those April showers, right? They bring May flowers. We all know this. All right, so we've got 30 to 45 millimeters of rain on the way, stretching from Toronto, Kitchener, through London, down through Niagara Falls. Typical April soaking.
Yes, and we'll need that. We want the Mayflowers to come eventually. We also want some warmer temperatures, and we do have some milder air to the south that won't quite get here yet, but we do have that risk for thunderstorms, mostly southwest of the GTA, but then some much nicer weather on the way for the long range.
This is so good.
Take a look at next week. I've not shown a map like this in a long time.
Yeah.
Double-digit high temperatures, above seasonal temperatures, really all of next week. Some April showers at time.
That's okay.
Sunday. Enjoy Sunday. A little bit cooler by the lake, but a gorgeous day, light wind, lots of sun.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed that spring has finally sprung.
Yes.
Hi there, good morning. It's Wednesday. It is April the 8th, and Jacqueline Whittle does a great job explaining freezing rain and that science behind the weather. I'm Emily Vukovic. Thank you so much for joining us. Such a timely science behind the weather because we've got a freezing rain warning in place. Now, a lot of areas are seeing a little bit of mixing. Some areas are going to be seeing longer periods of freezing rain. Some areas not seeing any. It's really just going to be kind of temperature dependent and really on your location. Looking at the radar, the precip has changed over mostly to rain. We're seeing that kind of first wave of moisture move its way through, but you can see just places a little bit north of Kitchener and east of Kitchener seeing a little bit of freezing rain right along that kind of 401 corridor. Toronto, if we see anything, it's going to be mostly rain. It is going to be falling throughout the day today, but temperatures just too close to the water. Wind is certainly going to be a big concern. We've got gusts up to about 50 kilometers an hour downtown, 53 through Kitchener, and the potential is there for gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. Now, I know we're seeing ice accretion in some areas, and Guelph is one of them, and that is exactly where we join Kevin Yard. Good morning, Kevin. Second wave of moisture coming through this afternoon. It's going to be wet, it's going to be windy, it's going to be raw. Bit of a break through this evening and tomorrow morning. We've got scattered showers on the way, but tomorrow afternoon is where we're going to see another big push of moisture. That's going to be bringing us significant amounts of rain, but temperatures are going to be warming up with that southerly flow. Thanks, Kevin. We've got a freezing rain warning in place stretching from Peterborough through Barrie, Owen Sound, down through Kitchener and in through Caledon. Now, the city of Toronto's not in it. I know it kind of looks like it is, but it's not. We do have a special weather statement issued for the city of Toronto and in through Hamilton. Don't rule out the potential for a little bit of freezing rain today. Here's a look at the radar. Those areas in pink, that's our freezing drizzle. It's moving now towards the north. Temperatures still borderline freezing, so that's where we're seeing that risk, certainly through higher elevations, through the escarpment. Guelph, Orangeville, certainly areas to be more concerned with, but it looks as though the roads are just too warm. And we'll talk to Tom about that in just a few moments. The rain is going to stay along the lakeshore through Toronto, down through Hamilton and into St. Catharines, Niagara Falls area. Winds, as Kevin was mentioning, gusting to 50 kilometers an hour, but they have the potential to reach gusts 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. Rainfall amounts, this is through Friday, so after the rain tapers off tonight, we'll see a bit of a break and then it'll pick up in intensity again tomorrow afternoon, 30 to 45 millimeters. And because of that warm air aloft, we've got the risk of a few isolated thunderstorms south of the GTA. Now, I'm going to skip really quickly through these next couple of maps because I want to show you our 7-day real quick. We've got temperatures hitting double digits by the weekend. Here's Tom with a traffic preview. Thanks, Kevin. And you know what's so funny? My producer and I were just talking about this, about how, you know, commonly we see snow in April. We see about 4 centimeters every year in April through the city of Toronto. And in most of the GTA, it's more than that. So, I mean, even though we don't love it, it's certainly not a big surprise that we're seeing weather like this. We've got that potential for freezing rain. But as Kevin was mentioning, dry right now through Guelph. We do have a freezing rain warning in place. It stretches from Peterborough through Barrie over towards Mount Forest, Owen Sound. It's not going to be a great day for walkways, cars, and tree branches, but I think roadways should stay warm enough. A little bit of snow further to the north, and we've got rain to the south. Winds are certainly going to be a big story today. Winds gusting 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. We've already recorded a gust through Toronto of 62 kilometers an hour. Rainfall amounts they're impressive. It's a good April soaking from today into Friday. We're looking at 30 to 45 millimeters, especially to the south. And that's exactly where we have a little bit of warm air aloft. So that is where we could see that thunderstorm risk, Hamilton south down towards London. It is going to be a fairly wet afternoon. We've seen our first wave of moisture. This is the second. And then we'll start to, I don't want to say clear, because we're going to stay quite cloudy through the overnight and tomorrow morning. The scattered showers will pick up just ahead of this next system. We are going to be seeing quite a soaker throughout the day tomorrow and down towards the southwest. They do have that risk for some pretty decent thunderstorm activity. Temperatures are going to be warming up. By Friday, we're looking at 15 degrees as an early daytime high. Here's Tom with a preview of traffic. Thanks so much, Jacqueline. In such a timely science behind the weather with the risk of freezing rain that we've got this morning. We're into a freezing rain warning. It stretches from Peterborough through Barrie, down through Caledon and through Kitchener, Mount Forest, up through Owen Sound. Toronto not in it, but in a special weather statement regarding areas north of the city that could be dealing with it through Vaughan and through Newmarket over towards Uxbridge. The radar showing a bit of a break for many areas down through the southwest, but the second wave of moisture hasn't moved in yet. Again, Toronto up through Oshawa, we're looking at primarily rain throughout this morning hours, but up through the Barrie area, certainly seeing a little bit of a mix and possibly even some light snow. Winds already gusting 60 kilometers an hour through Toronto and through Kitchener up to about 55. Winds could gust anywhere between kind of 60 and 70 kilometers an hour this afternoon. Kevin Yard, he's joining us in Guelph this morning. And Kevin, the rain has stopped for now. Second wave of moisture moving in through this afternoon. We'll see a bit of a lull through the evening and overnight. Tomorrow morning, some scattered showers, and then the bulk of the moisture from yet another system moves in through the early afternoon, continues evening through the overnight and into Friday morning. Once that tapers off, we'll see an early day high on Friday. We may even see a little bit of sunshine, but high pressure starts to move in over the weekend. And on Saturday, even though we're going to hit 11 degrees, it's going to be kind of a raw 11 degrees with very brisk winds. And then Sunday, that's the day you want to get outside. A daytime high of 14 degrees with lots of sunshine.